In our final section of Chapter 5, we're going to look at human population growth over time. Human population growth has increased exponentially in the last 250 years. It's gone up very, very, very fast. For most of human existence, there was almost no population growth at all to very, very, very little slow population growth. Nowadays, in some developing countries, we have 3 people per second uh, increase in growth in growth of the population. That means that we were having many, many more people being born than we have dying. So 3 people per second is the growth of the population. So human population has increased with time. Um, in the back in the day, harsh conditions, scarce food, incurable diseases, and until recently, about half of the children born made it to adulthood. So you have an incredibly high death rate. Most of the time, this was due to disease. However, conditions they improved, they got better. About 500 years ago, our population started to really increase, and the reasons that it increased was because, well, we had agriculture. Agriculture gave us a steady supply of food. We had industry. Industry gave us many inventions that helped to make our life more easier. It made it actually so we burnt less calories, so we could actually hold on to more of the nutrition that we were getting from agriculture. We also had sanitation, and we also had medicine and health. So what happens here is our death rate is going down. However, we still have an incredibly high birth rate. So if you have a very high birth rate and you have a low death rate, the population is going to increase dramatically. So here's a graph showing human population over time, going all the way back to 10,000 BC. On our y-axis, we have the billions of people, all the way up to 7 right there, and we're actually just past 7 billion here in 2012. 2013, go a little bit higher, obviously, but not quite past 8 billion. Anyways, back to 10,000 BC, not a whole lot of people. Anywhere between about 8,500 BC, you have agriculture beginning. Agriculture gives us a steady supply of food, so we can rely on that food instead of foraging for food whenever we need it. You can also store food away, which makes it nice. So you have a real low growth that happens between that time until we get to plowing and irrigation. Plowing and irrigation are agriculture technologies. What they did was they helped to increase our food supply. So we had agriculture before, but now we have even more stable and even a higher yielding food supply. So populations went up. For some reason, I don't know why, 1000 BC, a slight decline in population, and then right around zero, an increase and then another decrease. We have a sharp decrease that happens around 1500 AD. That's due to the bubonic plague, and then right around 1700, so you have the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, it makes life a lot easier, and we have huge population growths. So birth rates, death rates, and the age structure of a population help predict why some countries have high growth rates while other countries grow more slowly. The countries that grow slowly are the developed countries. These are the first world countries. These are the countries of Northern Europe, North America, United States of America, Canada. These are very developed and very educated countries that are growing slowly. However, countries where it's less developed, third world countries, even some in second world countries, they have higher growth rates. Their populations are growing at a very fast pace. So a demographic transition is just the change in population from a high birth death rate, so many births and many deaths, to a low birth and low death rate. But it's a transition. It happens, and there's a step in between that gets you to that transition. And all countries follow this pattern of transition as they develop. Very few countries have actually completed this demographic transition. The United States being one of them, and some other countries in Northern Europe. And here's what it looks like right here. For all undeveloped countries, and this was the United States 400 years ago, 300 years ago, and also most of Northern Europe a long time ago, they were in this stage A right here. And in stage A, you have a very high birth rate and you have a very high death rate. So your population is growing, but it's not growing a whole lot. However, as those countries begin to develop, what happens is you have increases and you have increase in sanitation, you have increase in medical, you have increase in these different things that help to keep people alive longer. So what happens is your death rate falls. So your death rate falls because you have better access to medicine, better access to hospitals, you have more stable supply of food, you have better sanitation, your death rate's going to fall. But while your death rate is falling, you still have this incredibly high birth rate. So you have less individuals leaving the population and many individuals entering the population. So what happens is you have a large increase in your overall population. This is part B of your demographic transition. Now, after a while, and as your society modernizes, what's going to happen is your society becomes more educated. And as they become more educated, your death rate is still going to stay pretty low. However, your birth rate is now going to start falling in the third part, or part C, of your demographic transition. And your demographic transition is complete when your birth rate and death rate are both low. So in part A, underdeveloped countries have high birth death rates, so you have very low population growth. So you have high births, high deaths. Part B, that middle part of that graph I just showed you, as conditions improve, death rates drop, but you have high populations growth. So high birth rate and low death rate equals large population growth. And then finally, as countries become more educated, what happens is their standard of living goes up, and their birth rates drop and their death rates are real low, so now your population growth is back to being low. These are age structure diagrams. I like to call them population pyramids. I think the more current words used that I learned in college were population pyramids. But anyways, these are just charts that show us which can predict the future population growth, and it shows us the different ages and the male and female, the sex breakdown of a population. So they basically graph the number of people in different age groups in a population, but they also break it in half by sex. So let's take a look at these right here. On the left-hand side here, we have the U.S. population, and you have 0 right here in the middle. On your y-axis, you have the age years. So, and this is the percentage of the population in your x-axis. On your left-hand side here in the blue, this is the percentage of males. On the right-hand side here, this is in the purple, this is the percentage of females. Between 0 and 4 years old, you have 3.2% of the population as males, and 2.9% of the population is females. Between age 30 and 34, you have roughly 3.3% of the population is going to be males, and then for females, that's roughly 3.3% over there too. Now let's look way up here at the top. From between ages of 75 and 79, you have come all the way down there, 1.5% of the population is males, and about 1.5%, maybe a little bit more, 1.5% of the population is females. So this right here is a very stable population. Stable populations, they do not have a wide base, they don't have a wide middle, and they don't have a wide top. This is a stable population. It's not growing, it's not declining, it's just staying stable over time. However, if you look at this population pyramid of Rwanda, you see that it is a very, very large at the base of the pyramid. You have a very, very large number of children between 0 and 4, 5 and 9, 10 and 14, 15 and 19. And then as they start to reach adulthood, you have many more people dying off and they're not living as long. This population, it is growing. If you have very big pyramids at the bottom, they are growing populations and they will increase in size as they move on towards the future. Here's another one right here. This is Spain right here. In Spain, this shows us a population that is declining. This population, at the base of the pyramid, you have very few younger children, but you have many middle-aged adults. And in 30 years, what's going to happen is your population is going to start to decline. So right now, Spain's population is 46 million people. In roughly 30 years, it could be a little bit less than that, 40 million, maybe 39 million. There's a lot of other factors that are also have to do with that, such as migration and other things. However, this is a population that is declining. So stable growth, rapid growth, and I would change the slow growth to a declining population. And that is it for Chapter 5, Section 3.